Nice to see you, Dr. Dharmesh. Namaste.
Namaste to viewers and namaste Kṣaṇāti. Hope you are doing well, and obviously our videos are doing very well. So that's an encouraging point that subscribers are viewing our videos and two different views from our both the sides. So let us do today for the moon, as we have selected this, and we'll focus one after another. So you please continue with the moon, then I will add.
Great. So first, just as a general introduction to the moon, called Chandraya or Somaya in Sanskrit, it is said to one of my favorite English translations of the moon, and there are many different English translations, and I'm not sure any of them do proper justice. But one of my favorite English translation is that the moon is the emblem of devotion, which means it's the representation for devotion. And this shows our devotional nature, which area our devotion will go to. And also the moon rules the manas, which is the mind. So the fluctuations of the mind are also very in alignment with the moon as it waxes and it wanes, as we get closer to a full moon and as we get closer to the new moon. And when we're looking at these fluctuations in the moon, we look at the nakshatra. The nakshatra is the moon moves through these nakshatras very quickly for us. So we're constantly experiencing a different mental energy because the moon is always traveling through different nakshatra. So this is very important to understand. The moon is the mind, which is our mental influence, which also affects our mood. So if our mind is afflicted, so our moon is afflicted. And so we might deal with depression. We might deal with anxiety. We can deal with certain difficulties. But moon also rules the connection between the heart and the mind. It also has to do with the heart. And this connection between the heart and the mind, I always joke around that that is the greatest distance that ever existed, is the distance between the heart and the mind. But the moon helps us facilitate this connection between the heart and the mind. And so a lot of people with strong moon vibration, they might have what you call empathic intuition, which means for better or for worse, they're going to feel what other people feel. Which means there are other people in a lowly state, they will pick up on the lowly vibrations. If the person is in a higher state, like a guru, like a teacher, is in a divine state, then they will pick up on the high vibrations of the teacher. So there are both blessings and challenges that come from this emblem of devotion. It's also the representation for the Divine Mother. And the Divine Mother is a representation for the unconditional love. And see, with Shukraya, with Venus, we have romantic love. And this is a conditional type of love. But with Moon, it's unconditional love. It's divine love. This is only the type of love which a mother may show her child. But it is also the unconditional love of the Divine Mother, which is something which we are to be in devotion to. And so the moon is a representation of the Divine Mother. And I always think that's very beautiful. So Dr. Dharmesh, I'd love to hear everything you have to share upon the moon as well.
Yeah, very nice inputs about the moon. And it gives a complete idea what a moon is. And mind, okay, it's a moon, but it's a mood. It's a conscious. The person have a conscience is a moon. Person having a different moods. As like a moon is waxing and waning, how the moon is increasing and moon is decreasing, same way the person mood is also affecting very much. As we know, earth contains the 71% of water. Body also contains the 71% of our water. So we have a direct connection of a moon in our life. As earth is rotating our within the sun rotating, moon is rotating against the earth. So that is the greatest benefit the people of us, like we all the earth people, have the blessing is a moon. And due to the moon, a mood change, nature change, and because of the moon, the house run, that house which has contained the moon has a more emotion. So emotion, mother, as you rightly mentioned, as the unconditional love, that's all are a moon. And that is why moon is a mood. And when your mood is on the peak, it is a moon that is rising in the environment. And it is, science has proved that all the lunatic, idiot, and psychology person affecting the moon in the lunar cycle. When there's a lunar cycle up and downs, their mood goes dry, or their mood goes to high feelings stage. So this all the effect is due to the moon. And that is why moon is very, very important in our astrology. We believe the constellation nakshatra of a moon. On base of that only we cast the dasha. All the dashas are there, and that is why all the dashas first effect our manas, our mind, our mood. So dasha, that is why this all the Parashara has made the dasha on the basis of moon, because he know that whenever the environment change, it is first effect to your mind, and mind give the action to the body, and accordingly the body works. So here the moon is very, very important, and it's contain more of a water. All the tidal effect in the earth is also because due to the moon, and that same tidal effect person getting in their mind, up and down mind. So we are going to discuss all the moon in the all different houses, but in general, all the auspicious muhurta in prashna only, horary, in natal chart, in matchmaking, what not, the like a Sadesati, Dasha, all the system runs on the base of a moon itself. And that is why we have selected the first planet to discuss is a moon. So now, viewers, we are going one after another houses, whereby we both are putting our inputs, and you have to see this. If it is your ascendant chart, that will be affecting you physically, and if it is your moon sign, means moon sign, then it will be affecting you mentally. So it is a moon chart and as well as a ascendant chart. Both the chart you keep simultaneously, one as a ascendant chart and one as a moon chart. And see, when we are discussing moon in first house, moon in the second house, moon in third house, how you are seeing physically and mentally. They are the lucky people having a moon in the ascendant. Whenever the person having a moon in the ascendant, their inner nature or their physical nature and emotional natures are same. So they are very blunt. They are very focused on the face. Whatever they feel, they never hide, and they gives everything on the face. So those having the ascendant and moon same sign, so they will be having a equal result. Otherwise, your physical thoughts will be different, and wherever the moon sign, which house the moon is there, that will be totally different. So we are going to discuss one after another, and that will be a great discussion for all of you. So I request Kṣaṇāti to start the first house, and then I'll put my input. Please start.
Thank you. That would be my honor. And thank you for that deep discussion upon Chandra and its vibrations. And I just wanted to mention for those of us who like astronomy out there, that of all the Navagraha, the 9 major planets, the moon is the closest which is to Earth. And scientists are starting to understand that before there was life on Earth, there was the possibility for life on Earth. And then there was another planet which collided with the Earth. And when this other planet collided with the Earth, then it gave life to the Earth. And then the other planet was separated outside of the Earth, but was still connected to the Earth. And this is the planet which we call the moon. So the moon has forever in its history, ever since its existence of what it currently is, it came from outside of the Earth. So it's deeply connected to the Earth. So from a scientific perspective and also from a spiritual perspective, this is why we start with the moon, because the moon has such deep connection with the Earth. Um,
Yeah.
Yes, and as Dr. Dharmesh mentioned, we see this in the relationship of the ocean and the waters, and the moon has its dramatic influence on these waters in the of the earth. Now, when we're looking at the moon in the first house, we always bring into the discussion: is it of ucha or nicha? Are we talking about a manifestation of high dignity or low dignity? So there's different manifestations of moon in the first house depending on its nakshatra, depending on its constellation. But as I said, the moon is the emblem of devotion. So those people that are moon ascendant, they are devotional in their nature. I always say to them before I do consultation, your moon sign and your ascendant sign are the same. So we are going to so you are having an alignment with the moon. So when you look at this position of the moon in the first bhava, of moon in the ascendant, the person is devotional in their nature. The greater question is what are they devotional to? And a lot of times when we hear this word devotion, we think it is automatically positive. But it is not. Because if you go back to the mythology of the moon have an affair with Tara, Jupiter's wife. So not always is the moon considerate in its devotion in its right direction. Now we have the emblem of devotion. Say we can be devoted to God. We can be devoted to health. We can be devoted to spirituality. We can be devoted to our husband or wife. We can be devoted to our pet. We can be devoted to our children. We can be devoted to all of those things that matter. And that is good devotion. And you will definitely see this when moon is in ascendant in ucha position, which has high dignity, like moon in Rohini nakshatra ascendant. These people are can be very devotional towards family and towards God, and they have this devotion which can go in the right direction. But sometimes moon in the ascendant can cause challenges because our devotion can go in the wrong direction. So I always tell us, be careful, look at the challenges of where your devotion could go through. And there's an English saying that idle hands are the devil's playground. And that means that if devotion is not going in the right direction, then it's probably going into the wrong one. So it's important to make sure that you are not devoted to bad relationship. You are not devoted to drug or alcohol. You are not devoted to false religion or false God. You are not devoted to anything which is lacking truth, because also it's passion of the heart. It's the passion that we feel sometimes with our emotion. And when we act from emotion instead of logic or spiritual wisdom, then we might be acting on our emotional impulses. So again, when we talk about the moon in the first house, we look at this huge spectrum. One is the devotion in this high and beautiful position towards God and family and our dharma. And another is the temptation towards desire and our devotion going in the wrong direction. So that's the fluctuation I see depending on the functional benefic or malefic nature of the moon in the ascendant. The vulnerability to the person might have to desire and passion and things of these nature. So there's both spectrum of auspicious and auspicious results when we look at moon in the ascendant. And what will you say, Dr. Dharmesh? I'm very excited.
No, you have covered 90%. I have to just add that when the moon, as in introduction only, I said that those who are lucky having a moon in the ascendant, so that their all the action, whether a physical action or a mental action, they both are same. So that is a big change. The person having a moon in the ascendant, they are having a more of a feelings within, and they cannot hide it. Being a moon in the first house, see, in any house, wherever the moon is there, your more attention is there in that house. So wherever when it is in the first house, your half of the attention is towards you. You always try to focus yourself. You try to bring yourself into the picture, and that is the main thing, that the ascendant moon is ruling both the way, physically and mentally. So all your mind, action and body, see what happened, the body is a car. If you believe body is a car, the moon is a driver. So moon will give you the direction, which direction one has to go, and accordingly the body goes. Think about the certain thing, that if you see something, then you see and you feel that whether it will be achievable or not. Physically you are aware that you are not able to achieve the things, it is far beyond your reachableness, but still inside your mind is say no, go and take it, no, try at least, or at least approach it. So that all the feelings you got, it's a moon. So wherever the moon is in the ascendant, you are focusing about your own deeds, you are focusing about your own physical action. If it is in the second house, third house, then that house related item is drive by the moon, but here you yourself is there. So all your action, all your mind thoughts, all your body action is all being driven by the moon. Sometime, as you rightly mentioned, sometime it will be a misleading. It may be going to the high emotional things, and people may go to the extreme direction, negative direction. As earlier I said, that all the lunatic, idiot, schizophrenic, there's all are different stages where your moon is affected. So moon, whenever in how much degree or how much way it is activated and it is been depressed, it has to be seen. Normally in the muhurta or in the normal sense, the moon has given the two part, that is a rising moon, that is a Krishna Shukla Paksha or bright moon, and another is a waxing moon, that is a waning moon, that is a Shukla Krishna Paksha, where the moon is reducing. One has to see in which 15 days of rising, from first new moon to Purnima, full moon if person is born, then obviously in any house the moon is placed, it's on the rising trend. And the person born in the rest of the 15 days, that is a setting moon, Krishna Paksha first Tithi to Amavasya, if born between this period, then in any situation, any high position, even the moon is placed, he is insidely depressed, he is insidely suppressed, he is insidely being negative. So this is a broad category of a moon on the rising moon or setting moon, where which period you have. But in the first house, it has always been seen that the person is highly emotional. Where his body can work, he always use his emotion. So there, sometime people misuse them because they are very clear hearted and speak on the face of the people. They are sometimes being always criticized or always being neglected, and the society don't want the truth speaker or straightforward. So sometimes they are facing that emotional level also, where they are not been recognized. So first house is very important for moon, is a rising on the eastern horizon. Whereas normally the moon are rise in the western horizon, it is rising on the east, because ascendant we call as the eastern horizon. So where the compromise start here, where the person feelings and person physical action are both differs, and nobody, I can challenge that somebody say that I speak on the truth, but no, they still hiding something, because complete truth is not possible. And moon always touch to the truth, it is always near to the truth, and that is why those people very emotional. By just speaking also, sometimes people become emotion, the tears come on their face. That means their moon is so pure, so clear, so their vision, their action, their everything is so pure. So I like the moon in the ascendant, but the negative side is only that the person are to be carried out by someone, as they are aware that he is a very emotional person, people can misuse his emotional nature. So you may go with the second house, sir.
Thank you, Dr. Dharmesh. That was amazing. And everything you say totally resonates. And one last thing is I have noticed with moon in the ascendant, this can be very magnetic quality. Like Paramahamsa
Yeah.
Yogananda.
Yeah.
Yeah, so there is this attraction. People want to stare at it just like they want to stare at the moon. And so people, and not always do we want that attention, but you will get the attention with the moon in the ascendant. So I just remember I wanted to mention that, like Yogananda.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Right.
So moon in the second house, it's interesting placement for the moon because the second house is first place of Artha Bhava, which is the indication for prosperity, financial success, financial security, financial independence. So a lot of our emotional nature can be in this connection with the material world. So this means that the person who has the moon in the second house, they can either be, if they have difficult financial situation, their mind will be very imbalanced. And when the moon is in difficult position in this house, the person can have a difficult financial situation and they can have a hard time in their career. Now, when moon is in very good position in this house, it can give the individual great wealth. We're talking about the great, if the moon is in Rohini and the Aries ascendant, and the person has great wealth in their savings account. So because of the Artha, it helps this attribution of financial
accumulation.
independence. But the moon in the second house, it's also indicated for family. And the moon, and it shows that the person is loves their family and is devotional towards their family. And there's an indication for their childhood. So it's also the immediate family. So it's that picture of the family. And also this is the house of food, the house of the mouth. And so they're not of speaking, but of what we put in our mouth, which is the food which we are digesting, and our relationship with food. So I always find interesting, moon in the second house, these people are good chef, these people are good cook, they are able to create very much good food energy, especially if moon is in high dignity in the second house. But yes, these people generally have a strong work ethic, and for them, their devotion, their devotional energy, their emotional energy, it's invested in the material world, which means it's invested in their job, it's invested in the career. So there is this importance here to have successful experience in the career, and possibilities there which are very active for the second aim of life, Artha. So the devotional nature does go to Artha. And again, it's not just about wealth. It's not just about financial security. It's also family. It's also, we could talk about food. So there are other attributes which the second house is also activated. Also, if the second house is activated, the moon will be aspecting the 8th house. So these people will have interest in mystical, occult, to balance out their material efforts, to balance out their material interests. They will have some interest in alternative, unique things, maybe alternative medicine or astrology or more of these occult interests by the aspect of the 8th house. And but yes, it's very interesting to see the moon's activation in this Artha energy, because generally the moon likes to be devoted to things which are of a higher, more heart-oriented nature. But here we're talking about, yes, your moon is actually, in order for your mental balance to be happy, you need to have success in this material world. Dr. Dharmesh, what would you like to say?
Yeah, that food related things is very interesting. That has leaked my mouth also. Because it's a water. Being moon is a water, and having a moon in the second house. So all your emotions which you have deposited for yourself in the ascendant, now you are depositing for the family. You are depositing your feelings to your money, your wealth, your emotions. So that emotions you are depositing in the relationship. It's if a moon is a powerful, then that investment will grow, and whoever you are putting the emotions on that person, that gives you a good feelings in against you. See, second house moon is focus of your entire life will be on your family. You don't like that your family members suffer somehow. As you mentioned, the moon as a mother, so they are a caretaker, they are a protector of the family, they are even a protector of money also. They see to it that their money, a hard earner earning money, goes to the right place, right person. So they are very much emotion with their money. They are thinking so much before investing, before giving to anyone. So that's the emotion they put in the money. Related to the speech and related to the mouth also, they are very emotional. You may find a people while talking, no, their whole mouth is filled with the water. So that is a moon in the second house. Or some people, whenever they speak, there'll be something will be spread out from the mouth. So that sprinkle also because of the high emotion and moon in the second house. So moon in the second house make your whole attention, emotion diverted to your family, to your finance, to your wealth, growth, and obviously with the taste and food. So taste, food, everything lies in the second house. Their speech is also very emotional. They are good orator, good counselor who makes the dispute solved, and they are very good in the counseling. As they are aware about their own situation in the family, they try to settle or try to save others' family also. So that is why it's a good counselor, good consultant, and going to give you a good emotions with the money. So that investment they always do with their emotions and with their feelings. So second house moon, not bad. See, in original Bhrigu Samhita, the moon is in the second house is called exalted. Now we consider as a Taurus, but it is actually the second house because you are always an human being, always having 80% intention towards his family. Our second thought, our third sentence of his speech will be somewhere connected to his family member, somewhere connected to the money only. So that's the type of emotion, and that is why the Bhrigu Samhita as a Kal Purusha, they say that it's exalted in the second house. Now we believe it's in the Taurus sign, and it will be highly moon or mind will be highly disturbed when it is a darkness, when it's a fear. So we call it in the eighth house, that is a Scorpio sign of a Kal Purusha, moon is debilated. So that's a exalted debilation is also somewhere related to the house, as second house, the moon is highly emotional. Whenever you talk about anyone, see, even a soldier, even a doctor, even we as an astrologer also, and or advocate also, whenever the matter of their family member comes, they don't operate it. Why they don't operate? See, in astrology it is also say we should not see, or we are not able to see our own family members chart. Why? Because we have invested so much emotions with them, and that emotions doesn't allow us to see further to the emotion. So all the doctors, they cannot treat their own children, their own family member, because the emotion is invested. A lawyer, a doctor, an astrologer, they all are facing some problem because they invested so much in the relationship. And as a social person, a human being, as a human animal, we cannot exist without the social, without the support. Isolation is not our nature. So second house moon, that is why in somewhere in the olden text it is treated as an exalted moon. So that's input, or that's some extra things I have to add. So now we can proceed to the third house. You may continue.
Excellent, Dr. Dharmesh. Yes, I just to quickly reflect everything you said. The moon is care, so it shows us where we care. So we care in the second house towards our family and towards our wealth. But if it's in difficult affliction, it can also show us where we worry. So so the moon is care and the moon is worry. And so we can also, moon in the second house, worry about our finances and worry about our family, because we have to take care of our family and we have to provide for our family. So these are all the things that are also consideration there. Now, moving into the third house is the first upachaya house. So you're looking at a place of self-improvement and self-evolution, and it's also the first house of kama. But this isn't the first house of kama in terms of this is where you fulfill your desires. This is where your desires come from. This is your intentions. This is your motivations. This is your ambitions. So having the moon in this position, it has very many significations, but the person, if it's in very good, in ucha, in high dignity position, the person can have very strong ambition. They can have very strong motivation. They can be very enthusiastic. And this is a house of public speaking and communication and expression. And so people with moon in the third house, they can be very good speakers. They can be the type of speakers that when they say something, they will change your thought or they will change your emotion. Like they will make you cry. Sometimes a speech is so good, someone else can make you cry. So I remember when Obama was running for president and I was a young boy and I heard one of his speeches and I began to cry. So this was, and he has this strong moon position he has a strong moon position in his chart. So when you're looking at this moon in the third house, there is gift in communication and people being attracted to your speaking. So you can be very poetic in your speech. You can be very artistic in your speech. You can be very passionate in your speech. And but because of the upachaya energy, this can be a challenging vibration too, especially when it's in a challenging dignity. Because the person has to constantly be working on improving their relationship with their family, constantly be working on improving their relationship with their mother. And there can be certain challenges with the family. There could be certain challenges with the mother if it's not in good position. So this upachaya house, it makes people work on their mind because the moon is the manas, which is the psychological process. So it shows they might have some psychological obstacle in the mind. And then they overcome psychological obstacle. Maybe they go to psychologist. Maybe they go to psychiatrist. Or maybe they do Shirovarechana with an Ayurvedic practitioner. They do Panchakarma. But either way, we're looking at the purification of the mind throughout the lifetime of the individual. Also, their ambitions and motivations, being very passionate or enthusiastic. And this is also a house of siblings, especially younger siblings. So sometimes when the moon is in this position, as mentioned, the moon is the mother. So this could mean that with the moon as the mother, that this position of being a brother or sister, it becomes more like being like a parent. So maybe you have to be like a parent to your younger sibling or some energy of this nature, but it shows a strong spiritual connection with the sibling. It shows a strong inherent, and if it's an ucha, high dignity, maybe you have easy and beneficial relationship with your sibling and very strong relationship. But if the energy of this house is difficult with the moon, then maybe one of your sibling is schizophrenic. Maybe one of your sibling is a drug addict. Because whenever there is difficult position, it doesn't matter which graha it is, Sun, Moon, Venus, Mercury, Rahu, Ketu. When it's in difficult position in third house, you can have this younger sibling manifesting as this energy. And it doesn't mean for you not to improve your spiritual relationship with them, but it can show you that there might be a challenging energy for you to have to work through with one of your siblings. And also the role which you are put in with your siblings might not be the traditional role. But yes, this is a house of ambition, motivation, intention. There's very good communication abilities here. There's poetic communication abilities here. But because of the upachaya energy, there's a lot of evolution and improvement, which also gets activated, and not always is having to work on ourselves an enjoyable process. We don't want to go to the psychologist. We don't want to go to the psychiatrist. We do it because it helps to make our mental health better. So it shows that you might have to this evolution with the mind and to work on balancing of your mind. And it can come with great communication and expression abilities and lots of great ambitions and motivations. The third house is the house of intention. So when you combine the moon of devotion with the energy of intention, then it can make sure that your devotion is going in the right direction towards family, towards God, towards all of these things which are more beneficial. But a difficult position moon here, again, like we talked about with the ascendant moon, you have to be careful about the direction which your devotion is going in. Sometimes people with moon in this position, they should not be drinking the alcohol. And why should they not be drinking the alcohol? Because maybe they have vulnerability to become the alcoholic. So it's better to not drink any alcohol at all, especially, let's say, the moon is in Pisces for the Capricorn ascendant. They should definitely not be drinking. So there's this vibration here of how do I purify my mind? How do I clean my mind? How do I evolve my mind? But also to make sure my ambitions, intentions, and motivations are going in the right direction, but not to forget our spiritual relationship with our sibling and the karmic connection between us and our sibling as well. Dr. Dharmesh, I would love to hear your input, sir.
Yeah, so that's all the good outline and good insight you have put in the third house. See, third house is one more thing I had to add is a subconscious mind also seen from third house. The conscious mind is in the fourth house where you thought logically and where the illogically thoughts have started. That is a third house, and that is why it is a house of desire. It's a house to beginning with the thoughts. When the thoughts start from the mind, it is a third house, and immediately we communicate. Now, from the second house to third house, when the moon is placed in someone's third house, that means his action, his deeds is more based on his emotion rather than the practicalness. Sometimes these people feel because of the overthinking of anything and not thinking practically aspect. See here, as you mentioned, is a house of communication. Sometimes you are communicating with the too much emotion ways that you just forget the practicability or whether it will be able to achieve or not. Just you are just putting your efforts that it has to be done like this. So third house moon sometime will be creating lot of issues as it gives a no sound sleep, because it's a fourth house. We see the sound sleep. It is a 12th to that house. So Karaka being placed in the 12th from this house, the people in the third house always thinking about some or other creativity, some or the other creativity. So they always want that the things should be doing in the side way so that it will not be affected to see them. So it is very important being third house moon. They always like to travel also, because short traveling also in the third house. So they always like to travel more and moving one place to another. As we know, that is water. Being a moon is a water and third house is a short distance traveling. So person always having a short distance traveling, or maybe always floating like water. They like to floating. All the poets, all the writers, they have a moon in or either a Mercury in the third house because it gives them imagination, plotting, and by imagination, by creating a plotting, they are a good writer. They communicate, as you say that their speech are very emotional. Same way, whatever they write is also some kind of creating an emotion to the mass. By through their communication, they are healing so many people. So that's a sign of a good orator. With the siblings also, it shows that they are caring more to their younger siblings. Maybe they may not be getting a same response from them, but they feel that it's their duty to take care of them. So it is very important being a moon in third house. It's all your things or your deeds just beginning. Third house is nothing but just to initiate or beginning of some work. So your beginning and startup of your work will be always with the full of emotion, full of a thought, and full of a action, by which it will be a driver and driving to a right force. So that way, the moon in the third house is a very important and giving you a good inclination towards spirituality, towards the communication, towards the approaching the people. So that way, it is a very emotional position and may give a very good result. When we see we will create a second part of a 12 ascendant, then people will be rightly see that how their moon is placed and accordingly how their strength will be increasing or decreasing. So we can start with the fourth house. You may continue.
Excellent exposition on the third bhava, Dr. Dharmesh ji. Thank you very much. As we move into the fourth house discussion, this is Karaka position for the moon because fourth house is naturally Cancerian, which is this energy of the moon. And the fourth house is the house of the home. The fourth house is the house of the mother. The moon is the Karaka for home. The moon is the Karaka for mother. So all of these energies aligning around the fourth house position here shows these people have very strong connection with their mother. So people with a very strong position in fourth house, but if it's in Nicha, if it's in difficult dignity, then maybe you have difficult relationship with your mother. Maybe your mother is schizophrenic. It can actually show your mother as mental illness, or it can show that you have very good relationship with your mother. So it shows both of these possibilities here, but it's also the relationship with home. And it's also the house of the heart. So they say that home is where the heart is. So this is natural energy of the fourth house. But people who have good position of moon in the fourth house, they have good relationship with home. People who have difficult position with moon in fourth house have very bad relationship with home. And it can show that they can have that they have trouble finding where their home is, or they have trouble feeling like they fit in where they are, or fitting in with those that surround them. But not just the physical home, because the fourth house does have to do with property. So having that moon in the fourth house shows your devotion towards your actual house, which is devotion towards your property. So if you have really moon in the strong position here, you will keep your property in very good condition. You will keep your home in very good condition, and a lot of love and a lot of passion will go into that. And it's very matriarchal in terms of we can show that the strongest position in the family is the mother, is the grandmother, is the great-grandmother, is the great female elder in the family. So it can show this position of being having a strong family devotional energy, but also having a very powerful female leadership position within the family. And other things which are showing up in the fourth house is your relationship with the land where you are from. So are you a patriot or not? And a patriot means, do you love the land which you are from? Do you care about the land which you are from? So there is this spiritual relationship with the land that your ancestors came from. And this energy come from the fourth house. So people with very strong position in the fourth house have very strong connection with the land which your ancestors came from. But people with disconnection from the fourth house can have disconnection with the land where your ancestors came from. They might not even know the land where their ancestors came from. So how can they be connected with it? Well, now they have genetic tests to find out where your ancestors came from. But now, so it is this spiritual relationship with the mother in the fourth house. And these people can be very devoted to their mother, but the mother could be crazy if the moon is in not good position, especially if you have moon Ketu, moon Rahu, moon Saturn conjunction in the fourth house. Then mommy can be a little bit crazy. So this is something that we can definitely see of the mother energy resulting in the fourth house, and also the relationship with home and the relationship with land and the relationship with your homeland, where your ancestors came from, where you are currently living. And if moon is in good position, you will have good relationship with these things. And if moon is in bad position, then you can have very challenging relationship with these things. And take note to focus to remove those kind of challenges from your life. Sometimes for example, if the mother is very mentally ill, but you have difficult moon position in the fourth house, even though the mother is very crazy, you still care for her. You still love for her. You still do anything for her, but she might abuse you. So you need to learn to create boundary and be able to walk away from that unhealthy relationship. So this is just an example, but also moon in the fourth house is the energy of the unconditional love of the Divine Mother, which means the power to love anybody without condition. So we look at both spectrums of this for moon in the fourth house. And I would love to hear what Dr. Dharmesh would like to share.
Yeah. So as earlier I say, you have covered 80% of the fourth house. Just to add in that is that moon is a basic karaka or significant of the fourth house. Why it is a significant or the main karaka of a fourth house is that it's a house of pleasure. And normally we enjoy the pleasure even before we receive that thing. Suppose you are going to buy a good mobile phone. Just you have thought about it and you feel that you already received and you are enjoying it. And while actually it comes, it double your enjoyment. So it's prior to the receiving anything, what kind of enjoyment you are going to face or going to feel is the moon. And that is why the fourth house, entire fourth house, all the pleasure is based on planet of a moon. Because everything, whether your property, whether your car, whether your ornament, whether your education, whatever the pleasure you are going to get in future time, that all will be starting with your mood. If your mind and moods are on the right path, you receive all the kind of a pleasure. Otherwise, you see people having a bungalows, villas, but they are not able to enjoy in that bungalows and villas. And the people not having a hut, even not having a small slum or a house, they are enjoying on the street also. So it's who's more satisfied, who's more pleasure seeking. So that is a moon. So moon is an entire pleasure what you receive from the fourth house. The highest thing what you receive is the love from mother, the mind, mood. One thing I had to add, in fourth house we see the nindra, that is a sleep. And our sleep is totally based on the lunar cycle. As the moon rise, we start preparing ourselves for sleep. And when moon peak in the mind, means it's when it is at 12 o'clock in the night, the moon is in the peak, and we all get a sound sleep, and we get a good dream, nightmare. So that nightmare is also third house. And where I say that the third house, the moon is not giving sound sleep because continuously your mind is occupying in the nightmare. But having a moon placed well in the fourth, related to the fourth house, you'll be having a sound sleep. You'll be having a cardinal relation with the mother. Maybe sometime your mother is exploiting, that's a different story, as Kṣaṇāti has already mentioned. But still, you will continue with the love and affection what you have to share with the mother. So mind, mother, pleasure, all kind of pleasure is with the fourth house, and that pleasure what you enjoy mentally and without any form, because mobile has its own form, laptop has its form, house also have its form. Without the form, whatever you enjoy pleasure is all moon. So that is why moon is the initiation of a pleasure. And when you sit idly, whenever you are in the comfort zone, see, prior to meditation also they say relax, put in the pleasant placement, and then you start doing meditation. So prior to meditation, whatever the stage you go, that is also a moon. So moon is nothing but the feelings what we deposit, and those who having the moon in the fourth house accept the good relation with the mother, good side of a mother. They are always being more emotion to the pleasure they are received from mother earth, and they are thank-giving people. I know in the USA there's a one day they celebrate as a Thanksgiving. So that these are the people always giving a thanks to the nature, that they have a so beautiful nature, so beautiful surrounding amongst them, and their mind is also very clear. See, pure thoughts, whatever the first thought comes in the mind, when I see you, you see me, the first thought appears, that is moon, that manipulated by the Mercury. After the moon thought, its sun comes. Moon is a mother and sun is a Mercury. So Mercury comes and it gives you hint. Don't treat him a best way. He is like this person. So all your mind will be manipulated by Mercury, but your first thought, whatever your first thought arrive, is purely a moon. And that is a true sense, true things you receive from fourth house, because fourth house gives you a wider sense of pleasure from everything. See, everything is created by God, so everything is beautiful. That's the slogan of a moon in the fourth house. So I like a moon in the fourth house. At least they are not behind the product form. They can enjoy the things without form or without the product also. So that is the greatness the person is having. So that's my addition in the fourth house. You may start with the next.
Thank you, Dr. Dharmesh. Yes, excellent position of the moon in the fourth house. And the moon gets a lot of strength there. And even when it's afflicted in the fourth house, the person can still enjoy great pleasure. So this is something that, as you see, the moon naturally gives strong amount of pleasure in the fourth house. This is very powerful position, as Dr. Dharmesh mentioned. Now, as we move into the fifth house, there's a few different energies, but we're getting back into a Dharma vibration, which is to fulfill my purpose, which is to fulfill my destiny. Now, this is a house of creativity. This is also a house of, because of it's a house of creativity, it's the house of the children. So the people with very strong relationship of moon in the fifth house, they might have destiny or strong potential to be parent and have strong relationship with their children. And part of their dharma is to be parent or to be mother and have strong relationship with the parent. For them and the parent and the child to have strong and to have positive relationship. But sometimes when the moon is afflicted in the fifth house, sometimes the children have certain problem, like they have certain mental problem. Maybe your child have depression, something most child should not have to experience, but not necessarily. Now, the moon also gives very attractive quality to the individual in the fifth house. it shows often that their dharma can have this their energy where they need to be successful, where they need to share creative energy. So this is also a very strong position for the moon when it's in good energy. These people are naturally attracted to them, like what they who they are and what they believe in, and people think they can be very pure. People they could think they can be very genuine. And this is also seen the fifth house of past lifetime karma. And so when you have moon position in the fifth house, what is your ancestral karma? Because there will be strong ancestral karma coming from moon position in fifth house. And it's very likely that you have strong karmic connection with your children. And so there is this inherited ancestral karma, which we see with the moon position in the fifth house. And also you see that with moon position in the fourth house sometimes. But as you get more into the fifth house, you see this a lot with the musician, with the person who has creative potential, with the artist, with the person who expresses themselves through the emotion, through maybe playing some guitar, through maybe playing the sitar or ektar or whatever type of musical instrument. This is how they will express their devotion. This is how they will express their creativity. And if moon is very good position here, they can be very successful musician. So they could be the type of musician who people will actually pay the money on a ticket to see. So this is something good to consider if you're going to choose to be a musician, because most musicians, it's very difficult. So it's good position for musician if it's in strong ucha and it has good influence. And again, these people care very much about their family, and they're very strongly influenced by their mind. In many ways, it's like having the moon in the ascendant, just in a different variation of it, because the moon is influencing the dharma. So these people are naturally going to be very caring about towards their family and have very strong karmic connection with their children, very strong energy with creativity, a lot of creative potential. Also, they can be magnetic, which means they could even be successful politician, or they could be successful anything which require popularity. So this is a very good position for popularity if it's in good position as well. And so those are just some of my remarks on the fifth house moon. And I would love to hear what Dr. Dharmesh would like to share.
Yeah, good insight of fifth house moon. And in addition to that, I want to add that is a house where you have already brought some past life deeds. So that past life deeds you are handling with your emotions. We have to connect the house with the planet. So what you contains in this house is whatever the deeds you have already been performed. Whether it is a good deeds or whether it is a bad deeds, you are handling both the kind of deeds with your emotions. You are very strong in other fields for yourself, but the matter of your children when comes, a question related to your child comes, you become emotion when moon is in the fifth house. It's a very good for artists, as you mentioned, artist, player or singer. It's a very good combination. Also, it is a very good combination for lover. Those who love, those who fall in the love, those who are doing a love affair. This is a very good house, because whatever the deeds is balanced with the opposite person, that gives that you create by the emotion. And that is why in the many time in the love marriage we don't see the chart, because that pair, that marriage has been decided by the upper God, and that feeling has been created by the God. So we are not a person to interfere that. So being moon in the fifth house, your emotions are always being attached with your deeds, action, blessing, curse. See, it's not always being a positive only. Sometimes it's a negative also. So any kind of a curse also maybe happen. Any kind of a blessing, any kind of a things related to your deeds, things related to your children. Your higher education also falls in the fifth house. So accordingly, this house, moon, is always being a good sign, as it will be always making you aware what you have brought from the past life. If there is a scarcity of a good deeds of your past life, it will always try to make you into the right path and to create a new deeds. So that kind of awareness is also being spread by moon having in the sitting in the fifth house. So related to the children, related to your higher education, or related to anything related to the fifth house, you always being very emotional, and emotionally only you will be taking a call, and you are doing related to that thing. So moon in the fifth house is good for the overall good growth of your past life deeds, and you may be very sensitive, and due to your sensitivity you are about to complete the pending karmas faster than the others. So that's a good position of a moon in the fifth house. So we may proceed for the sixth house.
Excellent discussion. As mentioned, that I think is an excellent point to bring out is the fifth house has this energy of romantic vibration. So as Dr. Dharmesh position of the lover, of the person which have affair. And this can show whether a person has too much romantic energy or not enough romantic energy, or if they have just the right amount of sattvic, graceful, romantic energy, which is the right relationship with their lover, which is the right relationship with their partner. So people who have very afflicted fifth houses, they need to work to improve their relationship with their partner, improve their relationship with romantic, improve their relationship with sexuality energy. So this is the very important, I think, position to mention of the moon in the fifth house, especially considering the moon's mythology. When we understand that the moon acts upon its sexual desires. So if you remember, that goes back to the ancient scriptures. So we have to look upon this fact that the moon, you have to be careful that the devotion again goes in the proper direction, that the devotion does not go towards the lover who is not your partner.
Right.
So moving on to the sixth house, we get back into another upachaya vibration. This is a sixth house of artha as well, which is work, but this is a house of service. This is a house of work. This is a house of industry. This is a house of having to put our hours in. So when the moon is in the position of the sixth house, these people can have work in service-oriented careers. Maybe they have nursery. Maybe they have daycare where they take care of other people's children, where they take care of other people's family. And this is a house of vikriti, which is the first three stages of disease. So we have to look at this position from a health perspective and saying, okay, sometimes the moon position in the sixth house, it's not good for the manas. It's not good for the mind. Because especially the job will aggravate the mind. So the moon in the sixth house, the job can aggravate the mind. The coworkers can aggravate the mind. The people, your colleagues and everyone, they will be aggravating your mind. And this is also the house of enemies. So moon is the karaka for the family, and then it's find its position in the house of enemies. So I've seen this be a very difficult position for the moon, because sometimes some of your family members, they can be very difficult relationship with you. Now, of course, if moon is ucha in positive dignity and position, all of these things are remedied. And there could be certain Raja yogas that totally create a more benefic energy when the moon is in the sixth house, like a Vijapreet Raja yoga. But generally speaking, the moon in the house is 6, 8, 12, very difficult. And when you look at the moon position influence on the sixth house, yes, these people can be work in hospitality industry because they can work in field of service, taking care of the home, taking care of the house. But usually when strong energy is in the sixth house, I kind of look over at the 10th house, which Dr. Dharmesh and I are going to discuss later as a type of work which might be more fulfilling than the energy that they have connected to their sixth house.
Right.
Again, there is this evolutionary energy, just like we saw with the third house, where this is good for the person to work on their relationship with their mind. So this means include, again, this is another position for having a psychologist, having a psychiatrist, doing Shiro Varecha, doing Manas Panchakarma. Because there's only, the mind must be purified for all of the artha, because this is the second aim of life, for all of the financial prosperity and potential to occur. Well, first you have to have the mental balance. So for a position of moon in the sixth house, keep the mind in balance, then the material success will follow. Dr.
Right.
Dharmesh, what say you?
Yeah. So sixth house, first, not so good position for moon, because sixth house is itself sinking. It's also absorb house. And sixth house, eighth house, and 12th house we always consider as a bad house. So what the moon will do here is that is absorbing the negative energy. You may see that's a house of disease, rightly said by you. So what happens when the moon is there in the eighth house? So you may be having so much emotion. So just other people are speaking about any disease, you feel that you fall sick. So because it's a moon is a feeling also. So you always feel very deep, and sometimes it scare also people. Suppose they went to some hospital to see their relatives, and when the relatives are narrating the disease or the suffering, they feel that, oh my God, I can also suffer this. Oh, if it is not happened to me, it is good that I am not is here. And such a kind of thoughts as involved, and that is why sixth house is not considered good for this moon, because all you are creating your enemies. It's a house of enemies also, that also you are creating. In job also, due to your emotion natures, you are always facing lot of problems. You are very available to the people, so that people will start exploiting you. You like to serve, as Kṣaṇāti said that there is a house of serving. So they like to serve, but the other people always think that they are available, and because of that they get exploited. So moon in the sixth house, creating the enmity, creating the opposite opinion about someone, and creating the enmity and enemy from the nature. And by this, the disease wise, it will be not so good, because you will be affecting with the disease which may be in the communication skill, communication form. So it is very dangerous. So whenever you are facing any problem related to health, those having a moon in the sixth house, immediately do the diagnosis. Don't think about yourself, what you feel, what you face, what you see, but show the experts, so that they will able to help you out. So moon in the first not so good position of moon in the sixth house, where it's only attachment with the feelings of a negative thing. So that never brings the good luck. So that's the input of a sixth house. We can move to the seventh house.
Yes, the moon in the Dusthana positions it just generally does not do well. Now the sixth house I don't think is quite as malefic as when the moon is in the eighth or 12th house position. Just like the third house position, Upachaya, sixth house is kind of Dusthana, but there's also Upachaya. So there's both vibrations. You can see them together. So you can see this position of the very difficult position for the moon in this position, along with other Dusthana position, 8th house, 12th house. And so there, you have to learn to evolve with the relationship with the mind, evolve with your relationship with the family, but also to keep your mind positive, because the mind will like to become negative. So make sure, even if moon is exalted in this house, you can be very influenced by those around you. So you can be very positive, but then you go near someone who is depressed, and then you start to feel depressed.
Right.
And then how do you wash that off of you? You need a long shower, to say the least. So this is just some of the vibration which I would like to share, as well as we get into the other positions of the moon. We're here with Dr. Dharmesh Mehta. We are discussing houses 7 through 12 with moon, Chandra, Somaya position. First, we are starting with the 7th house. 7th house position of moon is very interesting in terms of the relationship, because the 7th house is the mirror, or how we relate, or how we, especially with our partnership, but it's also the mirror for how we relate with this world. So moon in very strong position, aspecting the ascendant, aspecting the 1st house, will show that there is a strong devotional element which goes towards the partner, which goes towards the relationship. Very often these people are devoted to their husband or devoted to their wife, and are very family oriented, and they love their partner very much. But if moon is in a difficult position, it can show infidelity. It could show someone who might not being in devotion. If, say, moon Rahu in the 7th house, moon Ketu in the 7th house. So it's your relationship with your partner and the amount of devotion that we give towards our partner. But one thing that we talk about with devotion is that we have to make sure it goes into the right direction. So a difficult moon position in the 7th house, a person can be very devoted to a relationship which is unhealthy, which is a codependent relationship. Maybe the partner is an abuser. Maybe the partner is an alcoholic or a drug addict. Maybe the partner has mental illness. We talked about in the 4th house with the mother having mental illness. Well, what are you attracting in your partners in the 7th house? So you have to consider, sometimes with moon in the 7th house, we attract someone, we can be their mother. We can be their parent. We want to be the parent to our partner. But we can also want to give them everything that they want. And we want to give them everything which is in order to make them happy. But people with strong energy of moon in the 7th house, I always say life is a two-way street. And that you have to be careful that all of the love and devotion that you're giving, it is being appreciated. It is being received. And yet the moon is unconditional love. So you can unconditionally love your partner. But the question is, at what cost? At what cost? So moon in the 7th house can be a very good position for the marriage, can be a very position for the relationship, but also quite the opposite. If there are malefic aspects on those moon, there can be a very difficult way of our relationship with the partnership, with marriage, and how we approach marriage and our process of staying within the marriage. So you have to look, but a very pure moon is very devoted to the marriage, is very devoted to the family in the 7th house. But again, there is this wariness. Okay, does my partner have some mental illness? Am I in an unhealthy relationship? So that's the other side of the spectrum of the moon in the 7th house too. So those are both sides of the spectrum for the moon in the 7th house. And I would love to hear Dr. Dharmesh's input.
Yeah, great. As you said, that the 7th house is what we expect from others. So here the moon in the 7th house means you are depositing some feelings in your partner so that they respond you well. Because ultimately being the moon in the 7th house is ultimately affecting the ascendant. So instead of making you yourself more emotional, you're putting same emotion in your partner, and you are believing that your partner will be treating you as same footage. So moon in the 7th house means looking yourself into the mirror. You are expecting the same things from your opposite partner, and because of that you are putting emotion or expecting some kind of a feeling, some kind of a deep attachment with your partner. Moon being sometime it's a moon being a very selfish. They are thinking about themselves, as this is the first position where the moon is becoming selfish. So being a selfish moon in the seventh house, you are only and only directly or indirectly putting the efforts to make the same feelings maybe received by your partner. So it's a kind of a not major but a small this feelings which you are expecting from your partner. As in the fourth house, we have seen that the mother is very emotional, and your affection and attraction towards mother is very emotionally. Same way here also you are expecting from the not only from your partner, your spouse, but you are expecting the good response from the masses also, because seventh house is a public appearance. What the public is seeing you, so there you are putting the so much emotion so that people will believe you and responding you in the same manner what you are expecting. So kind of a bit of a selfishness here I can see and smell about the moon in the seventh house, that the persons are depositing some or expecting some feelings from their partner what they are likely to see. It's saying that you are feeding your words in the mouth of your opponent, and you expect that they speak the same words what you expect to hear. Selfish in the sense that you are only caring about yourself and not caring about your partner, what they are feeling. You always say to your partner, I know that I am keeping you very happy, but the reality may be a differ. So it's maybe that you are putting the things on the mouth of the others, and you are believing, you are making them believe that you are the best. So such a kind of quite selfishness after the first house, fourth house, and this is the third house of pleasure, where you are expecting some extraordinary favor from your partner in the commercial sense also. You are putting emotions that so that your partner may understand you well, and in the spouse, in the marital relation also, you are putting so much feelings to your partner so that he or she will be always responding you well. And for masses, see, you can make a fool of one person, you can make a fool of two or five people, but you cannot make a fool of a masses. So whenever you are in the face or you are in the public appearance, if your moon is not so well, otherwise people will throw you out, as they will understand that you are only an attention seeker and nothing more than that. So that the seventh house moon being giving you things what you really expect with the mirror effect of it. So that's I wish to add in the seventh house. So now you can put the efforts in the eighth house of a moon.
Excellent exposition on the seventh house. And funny way I thought of relating everything that Dr. Dharmesh said. When the moon is in the seventh house, then your partner is your mother, your father, your brother, your sister, and your best friend all at once. Because you put it, it demands a lot from the partner. It demands a lot of emotional energy from the partner, and that is because the moon is that energy of the family, and so it puts a lot. It puts a lot of energy that would be spread out to other areas. It puts it all on the partner. So that's a very interesting aspect which Dr. Dharmesh enlightened. And as we move into eighth house position, now we in a 100% Dusthana position. When we saw the moon in the sixth house, we look at Upachaya, Dusthana. Now we're in deep Dusthana position. So this is a Moksha Bhava house. There's these indicators here. Now I often find that moon in the eighth house people, they have very interesting way of enjoying life, because there's lots of good and challenging things that we can say. But the eighth house is the house of the mystical. It's the house of the occult. It's the house of the spiritual. And when the eighth house devotional energy link up with the eighth house, these person can have deep devotional practices in mystical, occult, or esoteric energies. for example, I have know someone who has strong energy in the 8th house, and he is kirtanwala. So he goes around singing in Sanskritam. So there is this vibration here of mystical or occult energy, and when the moon is in the 8th house, we can explore a religion, but it is probably outside of the religion you were born. If it is within the religion you are within you were born, it is the mystical practices. It is the actual rituals. It is the actual traditions. It is the actual chantings and all of the ancient scriptures. So when you're digging into the 8th house with the moon in the 8th house, there can be a lot of devotional energy. But this is a very difficult position for health, because this is the house of in Samprapti in Ayurveda is the last 3 stages of disease. Sthana, Sham, Shray, Vyakti, and Beta, which basically means this is when a disease has gone past the initial tissues. Now it's entering the tissues, it's making changes to the tissues, and so on and so forth. So these people, but the moon is the mind. So we can see severe afflictions within the mind of the individual within the moon in the 8th house. If you thought a psychologist or psychiatrist was important for the 3rd or 6th house moon, then it doesn't even compare to the necessity for someone who has the 8th house moon. Because in their mind, in their subconscious, they're working out all sorts of things. And yes, it's important for them to put that energy in towards spiritually. But if they don't take care of their minds, they can go through strong mental challenges. And depending on if the moon is kapha, vata, pitta, they can have health, physical challenges, too much kapha, too much weight. But the moon in the 8th house is a very good position in terms of spiritual practices and someone's spiritual evolution. But from a traditional perspective, 8th house is 8th sign, which is Scorpio vibration. And then you have the moon debilitation in this vibration. So for all purposes of a simple logical way of understanding it, this is a debilitation house of the moon. It doesn't mean that you don't enjoy certain benefits of having the moon in the 8th house. Like you can enjoy alcohol, you can enjoy other different experiences like that. You have energy in the 8th house. Maybe instead of you not having to drink, you can enjoy a drink or two. Maybe that is okay for in your chart. So this is a good position of moon in the 8th house. Maybe they do the Bhanga ceremony on Shivaratri. But in any case, this is the more mystical, spiritual energy. But yes, the 8th house moon, it can be attracted to, on the positive side, more sacred spiritual acts. But on the dark side, you're looking at criminal activity. So you have to be careful. You have to be careful if the moon is in difficult position, especially Rahu, moon in the 8th house, Mars, moon in the 8th house, moon, Saturn in the 8th house. Be careful of making sure you stay in the right legal practices, in the right legal activity, because there might be a temptation. Moon aspects the 2nd house, which is the house of money. So maybe there is a temptation to make more money. And so let me do something illegal so that I can make more money. So this is the difficult manifestation of moon in the 8th house. And so again, as we go through all of these different Chandraya Bhava, we're talking about positive spectrum and also difficult spectrum. So positive spectrum, strong mystical devotional energy in the 8th house, and they do spiritual practice and they have strong sadhana, and they are very and they are able to experience kundalini energy, spiritual shakti prana energy. They can be masters of pranayama. They can be masters of Ayurveda. They can be masters of Jyotish. All of these things can come from the 8th house. But also, lest they not be warned to fall into criminal activity and to fall into the abuse or use of substances. So this is the positive and negative spectrum of Dusthana 8th house moon, and I'd love to hear Dr. Dharmesh insights.
Yeah, very insightful about the 8th house. And you have touched all the aspect, and I like the exposure you have given to the 8th house. Basically, this house is called a house of fear. The things with what you get fear is the 8th house. So all the ingredients of the 8th house, whatever the things you see from the 8th house, is creating a scare to what you get fear, anxiety. Now you are putting a moon, somebody's moon in the 8th house means it's a manifestation of a fear. They are getting a too much exposure of a fear. See, the greatest fear of our life is our death. And that is why 8th house we see the death also. We see the accident and mishaps in the 8th house. That's also a kind of a fear. Every driving, those who are driving, they also have a fear. Even the pedestrian also have a fear of accident. Somebody will come and dash them. So this is a house of fear. We also scare whether our ancestor or whether our parents will left something for us or not. There's an inheritance in the 8th house. It's a speculative house also whereby people speculate lottery or some kind of a betting. That's also create a fear. So all the things, and as you rightly mentioned, a mystic or the occult science. The occult science is also, while you are entering into the occult science, even in the astrology, which is a very clean subject, but still people scare. If I practice astrology, do this will happen to me? Do I am affecting somebody's deeds? Do I do making a good karmas or not? So that kind of a fear always people having. But think about the tantric, mantric, all the people who are deep meditator or doing all kind of energy level work. So this all spirituality also touch with the 8th house is a house of fear and moon, very soft in the mind. So these people having a moon in the 8th house, they some or the other way always being scared. What are things going to happen? What happened to me? Whether it is really good or not. So that kind of insecurity and fear is always being facing to them, and they are having a anxiety and it's very good as you mentioned, Kṣaṇāti, about the spirituality. I believe that they can go to the deep meditation, deep inside meditation they can do. They can even go to the trance. Some of my video I realize I released that secret that from Navansh 8th house you can see where transit you can travel, astral travel. So this astral travel effect also or feelings also person can get from the 8th house moon. 8th house moon is very good to connect with the nature. It's also a connection with the, your emotions with the materialistic and so without the body, because 8th house the work of body gets end. 8th house is a death. The death not of a soul, not of a mind, mood, is a death of body. So thereafter, from 8th house onward, the person gets a right and very pure feeling. Because here he is put into the darkness, a black darkness. And from darkness, when his journey starts, from 9, 10, and 11, 9, 10, 11, and 12 hours, what we are going to see, the total dimension of his mind, total emotion gets changed. So this is a transformation period also one can see whenever the moon either passing from 8th house also or those having the 8th house moon in their life they have done so much transformation, and because of them also so many people also got the transformation. So that was a kind of addition I can put. The people always care with the water, they always care with the sea, overseas, they try to avoid the sea traveling. So this also comprise in the 8th house. As you rightly say, it's a Scorpio. By default sign is a Scorpio where the moon is depleted and whereby all your thoughts converted into the fear. Because when there is a mood, when there is a mind relaxation, there is no fear. But when you put yourself into the fear, you'll not able to enjoy mentally. So that's about the eighth house of moon, and you may put more thoughts about it, Kṣaṇāti.
I love the word you use, scab, because I've also seen this in the charts that I have seen, that sometimes moon in the eighth house, the question I like to ask is, what is the scab? And sometimes the person have a traumatic event which happened in their life. And maybe this happened in their childhood. If, let's say, they were in Mundasha, but their moon is in eighth house. So then they have traumatic event which happened in their childhood. So then once they find out when they're adult that they have this traumatic event, they don't get to start healing from the traumatic event until they remember that they've had it. So then they have to heal from the trauma later in life. So this is the scab that, you know, begins to fester, the wound that begins to get infected, which is the trauma that we don't deal with. So again, the moon in the eighth house is a very strong position for there being some emotional trauma, but to work through the emotional trauma, not to let the infection of the trauma control our life. Next, moon in ninth house position. This is a position of my moon. My moon is in ninth house in Vishaka Nakshatra. So if I sound a little bit biased about the ninth house moon, that is okay.
I will correct it. I will correct it.
Okay, that is wonderful. So when we look at position of ninth house moon, ninth house is a house of religion. It's house of it's a Dharma house, the house of our spiritual evolution. And so people with moon in the ninth house, they have lots of power towards religious practices. They can be very religious in their nature, and they can have strong religious upbringing. And so there can be this strong connection between them and religion. And when we looked at the eighth house, we talked about more of these tantric, mantra, spiritual practices. But in ninth house, you get the strict following of religious law. In the ninth house, you get the following of strict religious ideals. So people with moon in the ninth house can be very obsessed with religion. And they can, and if moon is in good position, then they're very devoted to religion. And they are very devoted to their guru. And they are very devoted to their teachers. But if the moon is in challenging position, maybe they can have challenging relationship with religion. In other words, they can, wherever we see the moon is afflicted, we see some mental illness. So if the moon is afflicted in the ninth house, we see a mental illness which relates to religion and relates to beliefs. And even my great teacher, Dr. Vasant Lad, he jokes around that all astrologers have Jyotish Unmad. And he jokes around that we all have Jyotish Unmad because we think that the reason everything is happening is relating to the Jyotish. And we can look at the Prashna. We can look at the Prashna before every decision that we make, before every choice. Look at the Prashna. Think about the transit before we make. So this becomes its own form of this. But in general, for me, with the moon in the ninth house, but before that, I was serious practicer of the religion I was born into. I was born into the Jewish religion, and I all went into Jewish school until I was 16 years old. So they teach you Hebrew, they teach you the religion, they teach you the everything of the history of the Israel. So I learned this from a very early age. So also the moon is this connection towards your ancestor in the ninth house, the moon and your ancestral lineage. So this is very important position of moon in the ninth house. Also, this is more spiritual education. And so the moon in the ninth house, people, they can be inclined towards spiritual education. They can also, but it depends if the moon is in positive or difficult quality. If the moon is in difficult quality here, then sometimes they can be very doubtful, or they can be very imaginative, because the moon in the ninth house is very imaginative, but they might not have enough action. So they can have great thoughts, but what is a great thought without great action? So you're seeing this spectrum of moon in the ninth house, and it also, so it does incline you to this potential either towards religion or towards these spiritual beliefs and your moral and your ethical evolution. I'm curious what you would like to say, Dr. Dharmesh.
Yeah. So I heard whatever about the moon in the ninth house from you is totally unbiased. It's purely and pure result what one can expect from the moon in the ninth house. Now, leaving the eighth house and entering in the ninth house, the moon is somewhat more comfortable, and is a house of religion, as you say. It's a house of luck. So the luck is always depend on the mother or any feminine. And moon in the ninth house, I many times see that the luck will start when they get married and the woman comes in their life, or a female comes in their life. In hand also, when people say that if your fate line start from the moon mountain, then your luck will be brought by your wife or your spouse. So that's also happened when moon is in the ninth house. See, ninth house is a life path. I don't see it as a religion. I don't see it as a luck. I don't see it. It's your life path. What you are going to what we are going ahead in our life. As I mentioned in the eighth house, that whatever the fear is there, once you remove your fear of a death, once the people's fear moves and goes out of their body, then everything is a religious. Everything they will work for the sake of a religion and the sake of a dharma only. So here, being moon in the ninth house, it's always inclined towards traveling, because it's a long traveling position, and they always migrate from their motherland, because moon in the ninth house means it is placed from fourth house, it is placed sixth. So they are not comfortable with their birthplace and they move out. And it may happen that they might be moving 4 or 5 places during their entire life. First they will move out from the first place, birthplace, then they move second, third, fourth place. Likewise, in their life there are a lot of big turning in their life, and that is why I say ninth house is a life path. What a path is decided for you to complete your life, not only physical life, but your emotional as well as your spiritual life and life of your soul is decided in the ninth house. So what the path you are going to select in your life and how you succeed in your life, whether you have created some good deeds which you are carry forward to your next life, or whether you have created no deeds or negative deeds that also you will be going to carry forward in the next life. That's all the reconciliation will be done in the ninth house. So ninth house is your life path. How you have chosen your life path, if a moon is in the ninth house without any affliction and very clear picture, that means your life path is like a floating water. You don't have to put any efforts. It will be a very smooth sailing. You are sailing in your life very smoothly. But if this moon is not placed well and it is somehow affected with the negative or minus planet, that means your life path, you yourself are obstructing, creating obstacles in your life path. And because of your high emotional nature, because of your non-understanding of somebody else's nature, you are facing problem in the life. So life path, strongly I believe in the ninth house, and that will give you a dimension, direction by which you'll be able to handle your future events by controlling the emotions now. So that's a good with the connection with the long journey, traveling, moving out of the state, abroad settlement, or kind of a religious happiness. See, like Osho says, religion is the ultimate luxury, because in the name of religion you can do anything. So same pleasure person can get when the moon is in ninth house. They are so deeply attached and afflicted with the moon. So every deeds, every minor deeds of their life is somewhat connected with the religious aspect, and they are hardly or very rarely involved in any kind of a negative work or destructive work in their life. So that's the beauty of a moon in the ninth house. No more compromising. It's only a moving and growing the own self in the totally newly and challenging environment. So that's the beauty of a ninth house moon. You may go for the 10th house moon.
Excellent, Dr. Dharmesh. Everything you said about the ninth house moon, it completely resonates with my experience, especially considering the fact that I've lived in so many different places. I've lived in Peru, Aruba, Curacao, New Mexico, Pennsylvania. I'm from Pennsylvania, but after being here, I don't want to stay in Pennsylvania. I think I will end up somewhere else. So this is very true of my experience with the moon in the ninth house. Everything resonated in that way. Now, as we get to the moon in the 10th house, this is very interesting because now we get back into material world. And we're getting back into the material world and the culmination of the material potential and the culmination of the material prosperity. Because we saw Artha second house, we saw Artha sixth house, but now this culminating energy, which is our life purpose, which is the career which is the most fulfilling for us, which is the career which is the most meaningful us, which is the career which is most satisfying to us. And all of this energy is double emphasized by the moon vibration. And so these people, it is very important for them, their reputation, their career, what they do with their job, what they do with their work. But it's not in terms of a service like the sixth house vibration. They actually want to make a difference in the world. They want to make a change in this world. They want to change the way that this world is, which means that they want to leave their mark on the world. And people with moon in the 10th house, they are very magnetic, especially if moon is in good position, Rohini Nakshatra, Cancer is in good position in 10th house, then this will give the individual a lot of attraction. This is a house of fame. You get more fame from the 10th house than you get from the second house or the sixth house. So with this moon in the 10th house, there can be a desire for fame. There can be a desire for success. There can be a desire to leave your mark on the world. And so there is a manifestation of fulfilling your material karma, of fulfilling your material prosperity. And that people with strong energies of moon in the 10th house, they are like the queen. They are like the queen of their career. But men can have moon in the 10th house, and then in some ways they will be like a king of their career. In other ways, it still has a royal energy. It still has a powerful, authoritative energy. Many successful leaders have moon in the 10th house, especially when it's in good position. It will create strong magnetic quality. So this position of moon in the 10th house, it allows them through the attraction of others to be very successful in their career, to be very, to whatever they would like to do with their job, whatever they would like to do with their career, that they should experience fulfillment through that. And that I also think that they should experience recognition through that. But it shows them reaching the hierarchy on the ladder. So if moon is in a very good position in the 10th house, it can show that their career potential is very strong, which means they can be very famous, they can be very successful. And part of this is that you can have a big impression that they leave on other people. So if you ever seen a good actor or a good politician, although I'm not sure a good politician exists, but a good actor, good politician, good artist, when they do their expression you feel the emotion. And people with very strong energy in the 10th house, when they express the emotion, you will feel the emotion, which is why it can allow them for great success, which is why it can allow them for great potential, because they have this impact that they make on other people. They're definitely someone that you're going to remember. But again, this is the best manifestation of moon energy in the 10th house. When the moon is very malefic or afflicted in the 10th house, these people have trouble finding their career. If sometimes the energy in the 6th house is stronger than the energy in the 10th house, which means they're working like a slave labor job, but this is not the job which is fulfilling for them. This is not what they would like to be doing, and yet they find themselves being in role that they would not like to be doing, a service-oriented role, like a janitorial role, for example. So this is something that we have to take into the conception that the moon does provide this possibility of potential in the career, but it can also cause challenges, because where the moon is where we care, but the moon is also where we worry. So if the moon is in difficult position in the 10th house, people worry about our career. They worry about, am I doing the right career? Am I doing the right thing? But in general, because of moon influence on the 10th house, they would be good counselor, they would be good therapist, they would be good kind of leader of organization, someone who is supportive, someone who is caring. Also working with women can be indicated. So all of these things are just some reflections on moon 10th house, and I would love to hear what you have to say, Dr. Dharmesh.
Yeah, almost what are the things I wish to speak that has been covered in your speech. In addition to it, a few more concept or more side I have to highlight is that as in first house we have discussed that moon is a driver of a body, is also driver in all the place. Here is driving your deeds, is driving your karmas. So you are doing the karmas with intention. You are doing any act, anything with the full conscious. So you're concise. Whenever you are doing something, when moon is in 10th house and they are doing with the full awareness. And that is why they put 100% dedication of themselves. And that is why the people attract them very much. That's the feeling they have created. And by action, by deeds, what they perform in their career, they perform in their deeds, it's been reflected by the people by appreciation. So this type of emotions they deposit in the 10th house is a name, fame and recognition. We all know it's a house of name, fame and recognition. And I don't know, I know that nobody's work accept any reward or accept anything. If somebody is saying that I'm doing just out of my duty or on this, that's wrong. That's a moon which gives you always some or other attraction related to your feelings. So this kind of attraction, this kind of things, you're always seeing in the 10th house moon, and they are more focused on the deeds what they are performing. And when the name, fame, recognition comes, when the position comes, when the execution comes, they are related to the work whereby they are good counselor, they are good advisor, they are good consultant, whereby they understand the emotions of others and try to solve others' problem and not adding any problem in their life. So moon in the 10th house, they are very much focused, very much concerned, very emotional, very psychologically if attached with somebody's work, and that way they are always being alert and doing the deeds with the total care. And being in the 10th house, it's aspecting the 4th house, its own house, and by which they are always being connected with the pleasure. So they choose the career, they choose the work whereby they majority time they either travel, either they enjoy the luxury, comfort, all these things, because it's aspecting the 4th house. So 10th moon, name seeking, attraction towards the work, try to solve others' problem. This all kind of addition or supplement work they do for others. So that way, it's not bad, but it's always an attention seeking. See, moon has a color of a white, and color white is say it's a focus color, and the light what we receive from moon is also a focused light. When you see the full moon in the sky, you'll feel you always try to increase your emotion. So that's a focus light it is there, and being it's in the 10th house, it will be always make you focus on your deeds, and you will be more and more conscious, aware about what the deeds you are doing, and you are also foresee you can foresee the consequence what going to happen if you are not performing your duty properly or you are not doing the good to the people. So that kind of awareness also one can be seen in the moon in the 10th house. So that's somewhat additional inputs I have to mention. You may proceed for the next.
Excellent, excellent. I think we really covered the 10th house in all detail. Now, as we move on to the 11th Bhava, this is the last position for Kama, which is the fulfillment of our dreams, which is the fulfillment of our desires. So now that we have fulfilled what we need to fulfill materially from the 10th house and in terms of reputation, now what we do have to begin to fulfill on a more deeper level. Because the 11th house is also considered the house of gain or the house of profits. But the second house is the house of material, financial. When we're looking in terms of gains, as it is written in the ancient text, it doesn't just include material gains. That there are actually other dreams, there are actually other gains which are even deeper than the material gains. Profits which are greater than the material gains. This is where we experience some of the energy that the rich man's heaven is the poor man's hell. But basically, it's this vibration here that what is our soul actually striving to fulfill? Because it's the last house which is coming before the 12th house, which is our moksha, which is our liberation. So what is holding us back from our liberation? What is still keeping us here on this material world? And my Saturn is positioned here, so it keeps lots of my karmic work here conditioned in the material world. So this is this position of what do I have left to finish here? What is left for me to finish as far as achieving my dreams, achieving my destiny, achieving my kama, my desires? What is left for me to fulfill? And this is the soul's mission. This is the soul's mission. So when you have moon in the 11th house, part of the devotional energy goes to the soul's mission. It goes to what the soul has to fulfill before it's ready for moksha. So that's on a more deep, meaningful level. Like when the moon is manifesting positively in the 11th house, the person is trying to fulfill the end of their desires so that they can prepare for the moksha, so that they can prepare for the liberation. But a difficult position of moon in the 11th house, these people can get very caught up in a desirous energy. In other words, they can get caught up in fulfilling their desires here and forget that we have to fulfill and finish our karma, or forget that we have to fulfill and finish our desire. And just on a more simple level, on a more basic level, the 11th house is friendship. So these people with moon in the 11th house, they care very much about their friends. They put their friends as their priority. And this can show devotional nature to their friends. It could also show attachment to your friends. It can also show that you might demand too much from your friends. You might demand too much from them emotionally. Or maybe your friends are the ones that demand too much emotionally from you. But again, on a more deeper spiritual level, I like the moon in the 11th house position as having very strong friendship if it's in a good position, and having a very deep connection with the friends, and also fulfilling your dreams. If the moon is in very good position in the 11th house, when we get to the 12th house with moksha, if the energy is strong in the 11th house, then when the person comes time for them body to leave this earth, they feel like they have done everything that they needed to do. They feel they have completed their vision. They feel they have completed their dreams. So again, it shows an indication of attempting to fulfill the dreams through the one's emotional nature. So you'll naturally be guided to the fulfillment of your dreams. But again, if the moon is in a very difficult position here, for example, Moon Rahu Scorpio, 11th house, you have to be very careful about your relationship with your friends. You have to be very careful about your relationship with desire. So these are just some things to consider when looking at moon in the 11th bhava. And I would curious to hear your illuminations, Dr. Dharmesh.
Yeah. So as you mentioned, it's a house of gain. So moon in this house is, and this is the last house for the money. Because 2, 5, 8 and 11, they all are the wealth house. This is the last kind of wealth what you acquired by your desire. It's a desire fulfillment, and moon will be more pleasant, more happy when desire will fulfill. Because we all know the moon is debilitated. The moon is debilitated in the Scorpio sign, is a sign of a Mars. So here is a desire fulfillment. So when your desire is fulfilled, you don't need to be taken a rebirth. And that is why in the next house, you got a release of your soul and moksha. So that 11th house is a desire fulfillment. Moon being placed here means you are putting your all the effort to fulfill your desire. And once your dream achieved, once you receive whatever you seek to receive, you get relaxed. Your manokamna, your desire is fulfilled, so you have no complaint. And with the no complaint, your soul get released very fast. So that's also kind of a relaxation. Related to the friends, I have seen that moon in the 11th house having so many friends, so many crowd. But in actual, in usefulness, there is a zero. There's nobody is available at the time of help. So one has to be very careful when the moon is in the 11th house. You only have to balance everything. And being a 11th house is a house of a neutral. We always call it a neutral house. No planet get more charging and no planet lose their energy. So because of this moderate relation of that house, and being moon, Kalpurusha 4th Lord is placed 8 to it. So here when the desire fulfilled, your emotion gets dry. One after another, when your wish is fulfilled, there is no anxiety, there's no worries, there's no tension, and your mind gets relaxed. So this is a spot where your desire fulfilled as well as your concern is getting ended, and that you are very nearby to reach to the moksha or liberation. So 11th house for friends, for gain. This is a gain house, but expected gain, not unexpected or speculative gain. Speculative and unexpected gain is the 8th house, whereas here whatever the gain you wish is a materialistic. So here that the 11th moon is a very pleasant, but only not good for 4th house. So again, you will be not caring about your own pleasure, and you are giving pleasure to your friends, and friends may misuse you or giving you a trouble in the future time. So be alert, be careful about the moon in the 11th house. So that's somewhat inputs of 11th house, and you may proceed for the next.
Thank you, Dr. Dharmesh. That is excellent. I know exactly what you're saying about the moon in 11th house when it comes to friendship, because as we've talked through all of these houses, the moon is what you will put first, or what you would or what. So if the moon is in the 11th house, you put your friends first, but that doesn't mean they hardly will put you first. So this is, so they have to be careful of codependency in the friendship. You doing everything for other people, but what have you done for yourself? So this is a strong position which Dr. Dharmesh mentioned. And as we move into the 12th house position of moon, the 12th house is moksha. And while that word sounds very nice and that word is very beautiful, when we actually get down into the nitty-gritty of what moksha is through the life experience, it's hardly enjoyable. Because, there's many, Dr. Dharmesh and I could talk for many hours about moksha, but one thing that moksha considers is the reducing of our attachment. It's it's the removing of anything which we are attached to. What is the thing which we are most attached to? Is we are attached to the life. We are attached to the body. We are attached to these things. So as we move to the vibration of the 12th house, I do not like the English word enlightenment because it's confusing as to what moksha really is, because it makes it sound like an enjoyable process. But actually, moksha is a dusthana position. Moon is in a heavy dusthana position. So this can have certain challenges here on the material world, here on the emotional world. We talked about traumatic activity with moon in the 8th house. We're also looking at traumatic activity with moon in the 12th house. And we're talking about when the moon is in this position, yes, there is all this spiritual potential for your devotion to go towards liberation. And anyone who has moon in the 12th house, if they want to align with the vibration of their soul, then yes, they should focus on liberation. But that doesn't mean that enlightenment is an easy process. So moon in the 12th house is a very spiritual, evolutionary position, but it is a very materially difficult position. And these, very often, the things which these people are most attached to are removed for their lifetimes. So they have to witness their family members die. Maybe they have to witness their partners die. Maybe they have to witness lots of death in their life. Maybe they have to deal with lifelong health challenges. And this is actually what is the purpose of all of this? To not have an attachment to this life, to not have an attachment to this body. So again, as we look at this process of moon in the 12th house, yes, it's a very spiritual position, but it is certainly not an enjoyable one. And I'm curious to hear your position, Dr. Dharmesh.
Yeah, that's a last position of a moon. And we all know the nature of Pisces also. We're somewhat, Pisces is considered as a 12th sign of a zodiac, and this is a 12th house. So as being a last destination for moon, those having moon in the 12th house, they sometimes waste their life, waste their time talking irrelevant, because a 12th house is something which is far with your mind. You are not about to imagine about the 12th house. See, loss, you can't imagine your loss. You may imagine your profit, but you can't imagine your loss. Hospitalization, what kind of a service you will get in the hospital? You're not aware that you will come back alive or somebody will bring you in the ambulance. So that's also uncertainty. The nature, I believe 12th house is a nature, whereby nature punish, nature supports, all also goes with the 12th house. Moksha we all know, and spending. This house combinedly or jointly named as a Vyaya sthana, means loss, the house of loss. What you are losing here is your dimension, your angle of your life. Everybody has to die. Everybody know that everybody has to die. But some people always so scared, so much excited, so they die earlier than what they're supposed to be. 12th house moon is always the inclination of high spirituality, and is also a placement whereby the native will be getting a good connection with the nature. A hint. See, for 8 house moon, he has to put some effort, meditation, then only the nature will start giving him messages. But wherever the moon I have seen in the 12th house, they have a some ability to understand, to listen the nature, and by which they able to solve the problem. So that's the 12th house moon is a very, people are not thinking on the positive side, but it will be somewhere connected with your own personal feelings. And this is a house of this water and watery base. So this is a floating house. And sometimes it happens that the native may be more intense towards the unseen thing. He foresees certain things, but he is so scared about the unseen things, and that makes a hamper to his life. Here, the most important thing is to a counseling. This person need the counseling and advising, and whatever the things he has pretend, he has thought about itself, it may be not a picture. So it's a kind of conciliation or advice we have to provide to the people having the moon in the 12th house. So by this moon in the 12th house, it has reached you to third world. It may reach you to some great extent. Energy level will be more. A sadhana, what people sit and do the meditation, that kind of sadhana also will be fruitful in the moon in the 12th house. So bad position wise is that you have to suffer whatever the deeds you have done. But the good aspect of this is to be having even though aware about the spirituality, aware about the things, you always incline towards these things often and regularly. So this way, that's my input related to the Rahu in the 10th house, 12th house, sorry.
Yes, it's very interesting. Moon position in the 12th house. I thank you for that comprehensive presentation. And for all of us who got a chance to enjoy Dr. Dharmesh's and I's discussion on the moon in all 12 bhavas, we are going to do another exposition on the moon from every ascendant perspective. And we hope that you enjoyed this. It was a pleasure and honor to share this time with you, Dr. Dharmesh. Thank you so much.
Yeah. Thank you. Thank you very much. Namaste.